The old hospital loomed before me, its windows like empty eyes staring back. I shivered as I stepped out of my car and onto the crumbling asphalt. The wind carried an unsettling whisper that sent chills down my spine. As I entered the hospital, a chill crept up my spine, and the fluorescent lights above flickered ominously. The air inside was stale and musty, heavy with the scent of decay. Shadows danced on the walls like macabre performers, making it seem as though I was being watched. Every step I took echoed through the deserted corridors, punctuated by the creaking of old wooden doors and the faint hum of a ventilation system that seemed to be sucking in the very air itself. The hospital's once white walls now seemed yellowed and cracked, like the fragile skin of a long-dead patient. It was my first day at Oakwood Hospital, and I was both excited and intimidated by the prospect of working with the patients. The hospital's administrator, Mrs. Jenkins, greeted me warmly and gave me a brief tour of the facilities. As we walked, I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was being led deeper into a labyrinth from which there was no escape. My first patient was an elderly woman named Mrs. Thompson. She had been admitted with what seemed to be a minor heart condition, but her file indicated a more serious diagnosis. As I examined her, I noticed something odd. Her pulse was strong and steady, but her eyes seemed dull and lifeless. I pushed the thought aside and continued my examination, focusing on her vitals and her chart. But as I delved deeper into her file, I began to notice a disturbing trend. Every patient I examined seemed to be showing signs of advanced decomposition, despite their seemingly healthy vital signs. A cold sweat broke out on my forehead as I realized that something was terribly wrong. I tried to shake off the feeling, telling myself I was just being paranoid. But the more I examined my patients, the more convinced I became that something was off. I decided to investigate further, sneaking into the hospital's morgue under the guise of searching for medical supplies. The air inside was thick with the stench of formaldehyde, and the silence was oppressive. I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was being watched. As I rummaged through the supply cabinets, I stumbled upon a logbook belonging to one of the hospital's former doctors. The entries were cryptic and disturbing, detailing a pattern of mysterious patient deaths and cover-ups. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized that I might be walking into a nightmare. I frantically searched the hospital for anyone who might be able to help me. But every door I opened led to more empty rooms and silent corridors. I was alone, and I knew that I had to get to the bottom of the mystery before it was too late. I stumbled back to the patient ward, my heart racing with fear. As I entered the room, I saw Mrs. Thompson lying in her bed, her eyes open and staring at me with an unblinking gaze. But it was what was attached to her chest that made my blood run cold. A clipboard with a scribbled note that read, "Patient stable." And then it hit me. The hospital was not a place of healing, but a charnel house where the dead were kept alive through some sinister means. I was the latest pawn in a twisted game, and I was trapped in a living nightmare from which I might never awaken.